Welcome to the program. I am Bosin Omafai. Let's get the show started. The new board for the Securities and Exchange Commission, Nigerian government announcing plans to inaugurate this new board on Tuesday, June the 24th, thus coming 4 years after a former board was sacked by President Buhari on assumption of office. The news agency reported on Friday that the new board will have four-year tenure and will be chaired by Olufemi Lijadu, who is a commercial lawyer. He will be supported by other members of the board. Who are the members? Just in case you just getting this through, this came in late on Friday. The new members have Azalamido Yuguda as a non-executive commissioner. He will be on the board. Reki Aladi will also be a non-executive commissioner. Those are two new people on the board. Okokon Ekanem will be representing the Ministry of Finance on the board, as well as a representative for the Central Bank of Nigeria, Alvan Ikoku. The current Acting Director General, Mary Uduk, will be on the board to be inaugurated on Tuesday, as well as Henry Rowlands, the current Acting Executive Commissioner in charge of corporate services. Two other executive commissioners will be part of the new board. Meantime, Lafarge Africa is looking at a new Horizon-listed cement maker informed the market this week of redemption of 26.4 billion, 14.25% 3-year fixed-rate Series 1 bond. The bond was part of the 100 billion naira issuance program floated June 2016, of which 60 billion was issued in Series 1 and 2. The outstanding balance, according to the company, of 33.6 billion naira, representing a Series 2 of the 100 billion, will be maturing June 2021 and will be redeemed at that date. Meantime, Lafarge Africa reported strong profitability improvement in first quarter this year, showing operating profit up 35% and a major reduction in the company's net debt as it plans to sell South Africa's operations for $317 million. That's about 114 Nigerian currency to deleverage the company's balance sheet. And the stock market, rather, the billionaire businessman Femi Otedola says goodbye to his shares in Forte Oil PLC. The billionaire businessman wrapped up his divestment of majority 75% direct and indirect equity in the listed oil marketing company. The sale of the shares to new investors was okayed by the regulators and sealing Otedola's final departure from oil trading empire he built as African Petroleum in 2007 and transformed into Forte Oil PLC. The shares of Forte Oil ended the week 31.20 on the trading board of the stock exchange, while the company announced a new CEO and a new chief financial officers. Meantime, the biggest story in the telecommunications across Africa this week was Airtel planning a global IPO, $780 million, priced between 80 and 100 pence for the London Stock Exchange listing. There will be an additional Nigerian offering expected to be priced between 363 naira and 454 naira for the listing plan for the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Analysts note list late last week says interested individual in the Airtel Nigeria offer will be deemed to have represented and agreed that it is either a high net worth investor or a qualified institutional investor as defined under the SEC Rule 31. That's some of the big stories this week, a very big week. Let's get Wale Olusi, who is the head of research at United Capital, one of the investment banks and also listed on the stock exchange, speaking to us and his live to us on the program this evening. Thank you, Wale. It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate that. It's a very big week with a lot of stories, and we thought the week started with big news. Then the biggest news, as it were, seemed to break out on Friday on the SEC new board.
Correct. It doesn't seem like the news is stopping throughout the week. I mean, with the SEC story that came out late Friday, the Airtel news that broke midweek, a lot of corporate action, mergers, acquisition, divestment. It was a really, really busy week.
It's a very busy week.
Correct.
And for those of you who are in the business of research and and analysis, I'm sure this will keep you on your toes for most of the week. But let's get your views as far as the SEC board is concerned. This is 4 years in the making. It's taking so long. We've all waited for this to come through.
Well, I mean, I think it's a fantastic move by the presidency to constitute this board, because a number of people have been calling for the board since 2015. That's, the former board was dissolved. 5 years, and there was none. One of the things we will be looking at is what happened to the capital markets, master plan that, the board was pushing prior to 2015. You know, one of the targets of the then SEC was a 1 trillion naira market capital. I mean,
$1 trillion
market capitalization. We want to see, you know, another push now that we have a new board chair and a newly constituted board in place.
It looks like this is going to be the biggest news for everyone that all of you will be talking about on Broad Street when the market opens on Monday.
For my folks at the office, we're a bit excited because Mr. Lijadu used to be a non-executive director at United Capital Trustees, which used to be UBA Trustees.
Oh, you folks produced the new chairman of the deal. He's a commercial lawyer.
Yes.
And I think he's, as a legal person, I think this will bring a lot of confidence to everyone who's looking at the market, because to head the SEC as a chairman, you need someone who understands the business of what goes on the market street from a legal point of view.
Correct, and coming at a time when regulation is actually a little bit of, you know, what investors are watching out for in Nigeria, looking at what has happened, you know, in the last couple of years, and we want somebody, you know, who is really, who has a full understanding of what that means to steer the affairs of, you know.
This is expected to bring a lot of stability into the SEC itself.
Correct.
That's gotten itself enmeshed in quite a number of regulatory issues, trying to extricate itself because it doesn't have a substantive board, as it were.
Correct. I mean, and you know, if you want to push other corporates to do the right thing, you know, make sure you outline others. Well.
This board looks like a very tight one, with the Ministry of Finance having a rep on the board and the central bank on the board. Looks like this is going to be heavy. It's going to be serious business.
I mean, it's the right thing to do because the capital markets, you know, one leg fiscal policy, another leg into financial activities. So both the monetary policy guys and the fiscal policy guy, you know, need to be represented so that, you know, you can have a balanced view on the board.
I think it makes a lot of sense if you have the Ministry of Finance technically representing the government on the fiscal side, and the central bank non-executive commissioner looking in on the monetary policy side and bringing everything to bear. And I think it's going to be an exciting time from Monday, all of us looking at what is going to be the new focus. We're sure that once after the inauguration, they'll make a statement, and all of us will have an idea of where Lijadu and the rest of his team will be good. But I think they will have to hit the ground running. I'm sure you agree on that.
I agree. I mean, they have to. I mean, the market is in need of a direction, is in need of confidence, is in need of positive news like this, and the best they can do for the market right now
is to start working from day one.
Working from day one.
There's a lot of ground. There are a lot of grounds for them to cover. Looking at the recent years, as you rightly said. But one other big corporate news in the week was that of Lafarge Africa. This is one company that spent the last 4 years trying to clean up its balance sheet, keep loading loans, debt, equity, and whatever. And now it looks like it finally found what you can call the solution, the capsule to swallow, and that is the sale of the South African unit. Do you think so?
I hope. I mean, Lafarge, like you said, 5 years they've been very busy in the market. Acquisition of this same South Africa subsidiary, 2014 or 15. Acquisition and, you know, divestment from UNICEF. They returned capital at some point. They've been doing a lot of bond
rights issue,
you know, twice back to back, and it doesn't seem like the problem is going. For us, this is a positive news. The stock already rallied about 10% on Friday when investors
when the news just came out.
I mean, it was the only option for the management to do, for the board to do, looking at how much of shareholders' value have been eroded as a result of what has happened.
Practically sinking.
Exactly. So they needed to do something to, you know,
something dramatic.
Exactly, that confidence that the markets have been looking out for
you think debt is one of the biggest problems Lafarge has right now? You think debt is it? Would they make money? They're redeeming 26.4 billion?
Debt will definitely solve a portion of the problem. Once you are done with debt, there's a bigger problem of what do you do to your cost efficiency. Lafarge is running a very, very expensive cost-to-sales ratio compared to their closest competitor, Dangote Cement. You know, if you want to come back to Nigeria and compete, now you have Boa Cement, CCNN
which is
in the north,
which is
it's actually listed. CCNN.
Yes, CCNN is listed. Yeah, and Boa just
it's playing strongly in the north.
Yes, tie up a relationship with them. So they're looking at this.
They're
choking Lafarge somewhere in the middle.
So Lafarge has to sort out something around his energy cost and whatever is responsible for the very huge cost of, you know, production. because Dangote is doing roughly about 40% net profit margin. Lafarge, even if you bring it back home to Nigeria, we find it very difficult to compete by price so that you can drive volume. So, I mean, this is a positive news now that they've cleared up the issue with South African subsidiary, but back home, they need to sort that out to be competitive. That's the only way, we will be able to, repose the kind of confidence that we want to see in Lafarge going forward.
You think, you think that would, the price movement that we saw when this news came in on Friday, do you think that will necessary to continue in the coming week? Just as the company is getting ready for its annual shareholders meeting, which will be sometime in July 22nd, yes, just in about exactly a month from today.
A month from today.
Yes, a month from today. 30 days hence they want to. And they're going to be approving new executive directors and all of that. So do you think this is part of the cleaning up?
I think the cleanup exercise will definitely restore them back to profitability, no doubt. But they can do better if they can solve the issue with cost.
Nice one. Well, let's touch in briefly with Femi Otedola, who's finally saying goodbye to Forte Oil. Femi Otedola, FO, then the company is also FO, whatever it does. Everybody knows the synergy, how it was FO. But he bought African Petroleum, I think about 2007.
Yes.
And then clean it up, change the name, transformed it to become 21st century, nice, looking good, smelling good oil marketing firm. Now he's saying goodbye to Forte Oil. This is one big deal in terms of transactions that the market is also took on board this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest news that a lot of prop traders have been waiting for, because most of them have queued down to see how the transaction will be completed. But what took everybody by shock was the transaction was cross, OTC.
Of the floor.
Of the floor of the exchange, and I think the price was slightly higher than the amount it's trading now. So we saw a little bit of sell-off a day after, especially
which was Friday.
Friday, especially when people saw the CFO and one other management that was expected.
The CEO and the new CFO.
Exactly. So therefore we need to file some more documents with the NSE to clarify what we anyway in the press release they circulated. One of the things they also told the market is that the SEC will also approve whatever they've done once they've met with all the terms and conditions. So some investors are still looking at what will happen, because if the price at which this divestment was crossed slightly above the market price, some people want to see if there's still an opportunity for them to wait or just exit now since the divestment.
I think Forte Oil will have to make a formal statement to the market beyond this press release regarding the 74.02% shareholding that Femi Otedola has. The company has to talk about its new direction. Exactly. The managing director, the new chair, will have to brief the market. They will need to talk to the market very quickly. They need to talk about the strategy they're coming with, isn't it?
Correct.
That's very important. They need to go beyond the sale.
Especially for long-term investors who want to do beyond just the current speculation. So they need to give further guidance. Probably they should do some facts behind the transaction.
Facts behind the transaction. or maybe, yes, the facts behind the transaction, or just analyst briefing.
Correct.
And keep everybody get everybody to understand what the new CEO, the new CFO will do and all of that. And then they will be getting ready for the next shareholders meeting.
Yes.
Airtel is a big story after MTN.
It is.
And that's coming after the break. Everyone stand by. Wale Olusi, the head of research at United Capital. This is going to be the second telco giant IPO in the Nigerian market. This is a global offering by Airtel. And this is as big as it can get. This company will be coming through with nearly $800 million IPO. That's one big story you don't want to miss. So what's in it for you? Let's ask Wale Olusi, who's the head of research at United Capital. His company released about a 3-page statement during the week on trying to break it down. Break it down for us, Wale. What do I need to know about the Airtel IPO?
Okay, so, I mean, it's an IPO, like you say, it's an initial public offering from Airtel, making the second, telco in Nigeria, to be doing something similar. What MTN did earlier was a listing by introduction, so no fund was raised. But Airtel is actually coming out to raise capital, and they're doing $750 million. If you translate that into Naira, that's about 270 billion, naira. That's a lot of money. I think that's why they're approaching a global.
Even the MTN IPO back then was all between 400 and 500 million dollars.
Correct.
Even at the top of the whole hype, heat of noise about MTN. So this is even bigger than that.
It's a very big.
Perhaps because it's going straight to London first.
I mean, and what they are listing is the Airtel Africa. I mean, it's the entire group
the whole continental thing.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No wonder that's much bigger than.
So because Airtel Africa, is focused on Nigeria, as the biggest market. Then there's Airtel East Africa in the tickets, and then there's the rest of Africa. Nigeria is about 37% of the entire revenue.
The portfolio.
The East African business, is another 30 to 35%, and the rest of Africa. So
this is an African thing.
It's an African thing, and that's why they're listing it, in London. But Nigerian investors who want to be part of, the deal are also allowed to come in. They've priced it at around 350 to 450.
Yes, per share.
Okay, we look at the valuation. I think it makes sense. If you look at the EV/EBITDA margin, it was around what MTN came out, about 6 times or thereabouts. So, that gives them a translation in pound sterling about 0.9 pound sterling. And if you convert that to naira, that gives you something within that. That gives exactly something.
That'll be bigger in size, in terms of price, than MTN.
Yes, it's bigger in size in terms of MTN, but we've been getting a lot of questions as to why is this price higher compared to the amount that MTN listed, about 90 naira. What we are looking at is the multiple, which is the valuation multiple. If you look at that, it's almost the same. If you look at the multiple, and the number of shares they are also listing is not as much, about 3 billion units.
Oh.
Yeah. And again,
that's what's going to come to the NSE.
Well, part of it will come to the NSE.
So
most of it is probably going to be in London.
Okay.
Where they are really targeting for most of the heavy ticket investor. That's where they're expecting them to come from. They're assuming that most of the Nigerian investors are going to be HNI or portfolio managers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That looks like perhaps with the entire valuation or whatever they must have learned from MTN.
Yes,
what MTN tried to do.
Correct. And it's going to go through a book building process, which means that on the day of the transaction, everybody will come and bid at a particular price. They're hoping it to be between that range. But at the end of the transaction, it can be below, it can be above.
In terms of allotment?
In terms of the offer price eventually.
Okay.
So day of offer, the market will now, bid. Then they will look at, what everybody is saying and probably take an average. At the end of the process, we will now have a price that can be below, in between, or above this expected price that they have, stated in the prospectus.
Is the market excited about Airtel? Well, since this is an African IPO, we're just getting a share of it. Yes. This looks like this offer is not underwritten anyway, so it's just going to go through.
It's not underwritten in Nigeria. Maybe they have some underwriters in London already, because they must have done a number of roadshows. They must have gotten, views from the global investors and hear what they have to say and gauge their interest. Correct. Gauge their interest to see if this is going to be successful, because everything that happened in Nigeria is a function of what happened in London. If it's not successful in London, then everything in Nigeria, cancels out. But I'm sure they've done their due diligence. They've gauged the market. They know that they have people who really, it's a very profitable business. Yes, they struggled in 2017 and 2018, but their latest number is, very impressive. And they're the second largest player in Africa after MTN.
So you think this is as big as it can get in terms of chasing MTN, who is the industry leader, not only in Nigeria, but continental-wide?
Well, maybe not continental-wide, but in Nigeria, I think they are giving MTN a good run in Nigeria with the size of what we saw in their revenue. I think they are doing well. They are also aggressively trying to grow their data business. Their promo recently has been really, really interesting. They've been very
the radio, television,
correct,
commercials. They've really been hitting hard.
Yes, and a lot of people like it. And
people like it because it sounds and look more local.
Yes, they brought it home. You can easily relate with whatever.
Ordinary folks can relate to the face features.
why you need to migrate to the data plan they are selling rather than the old one, that most people are using.
Yeah, so, because they're looking at, data is everything now.
Exactly.
Whether you're sending your daughter-in-law to the marketplace to buy things.
And everybody's doing e-commerce, everybody's selling on Instagram. The digital economy is actually huge, even in Nigeria as we speak. So,
and I'm sure Airtel will have one permanent eye kept on the mobile money business.
Actually, they do have a mobile money business also ongoing. I don't know how much of that they are driving currently in Nigeria, but there's Airtel Money, which is probably stronger in the East African aspect of the business. But don't forget, MTN recently registered their own Airtel
financial services.
I'm sure that's one of the things.
Looking for a central bank licensing.
Yes, I'm sure Airtel will probably be doing something similar. Don't forget, most of them also already have this airtime credit thing that they do. You can buy credit without paying now, but when you
buy credit on credit.
On credit, something like that. Borrow credits, they call it.
Yeah, borrow credit.
Borrow credit, and the margin is really huge. If you buy, say, 1,000 naira, they give you 800 naira. That's 20%. Yeah. That's a lot of.
And they take 200 naira and just.
Especially on those 100 naira on. Yeah. If you buy 100 naira, they give you like maybe 90 naira or 80 naira. Airtime. Now, if you aggregate that on all their subscribers, that's a lot of money. If you're taking 20%.
Yeah, if you stock somewhere and you need to recharge.
Yes.
Just like Temple I charge you. The show host anchor is out of town now. If he gets stuck somewhere there and he needs to recharge,
and he can just quickly borrow.
Yeah, they borrow airtime.
And pay 20% on spot.
And pay 20% on spot. That's direct debiting.
In my line of business, you
don't make that money.
We don't, because I have to wait for 1 year to get maybe 10% or 12%. If you invest in fixed income.
I never thought about it this way. Breaking it down with folks like you, 20% direct debiting. Let me borrow 100 naira, and they just
you pay 20% immediately, so they make a lot of money from there. So with this payment service bank that have been launched in Nigeria, most of the telcos are lining up there. That's why MTN registered their financial service. I'm sure Airtel will probably do the same, and I think they'll be looking at that for a lot of
very interesting business. But I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting time getting the telcos to list more of the exchange. I think the stock exchange and the SEC seem to be winning here.
Yes,
they seem to have been
after whatever happened in 2015 or 16. During the BVN thing, most people were asked to register, and there was a little bit of
issue
back and forth with MTN. I think one of the regulations on most of them is to list. So I think that's why many of them
requirement.
We're hoping others will come.
Yeah, let them come.
Glow,
let get Glow and Nine Mobile and what have you. Maybe they can resolve some of their issues through the market. The market is always a better place to go.
Yes.
Just to resolve all your issues.
Yes.
And there's a lot of transparency. And everybody's clear.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's just a weekend, so we thank you for making the time to be here. Wale Olusi, who is the head of research at United Capital. The big story next week, the SEC board inauguration on Tuesday. But on Monday, the Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, will unveil his 5-year new policy roadmap at 10 o'clock in the morning. You want to watch Channels Television. We're all over this and a lot more other stories for you next week. Of course, including Seplat holding a major capital markets event at the London Stock Exchange. We'll be all over that here in Lagos and in London. See you next week, everyone, and have a great weekend.